We are following breaking news right now. A fire has broke out at a mobile home near Charleston and 95.
Just getting to a fire on Nellis right near Las Vegas Boulevard.
Chopper 13 fast and first. Tom, what can you show us?
County Fire Department is investigating a mobile home fire in the Southeast Valley now. This happened inside a double-wide trailer near Twain and Nellis this morning.
A young boy is at the hospital after a fire at a mobile home. Happened near Nellis and Twain just after 10 a.m. in the Desert Inn Mobile Estates. Neighbors said they heard a woman yelling for help and yelling fire.
My name's Steve Broadwell. I'm Battalion Chief with the Clark County Fire Department. I work in Battalion 3, C Platoon. Well, there's several reasons why pre-planning your park is important. There's three things come to mind: access, water supply, and the location of the exposures, because everything's in there so tight. Access, most of these mobile home parks are old. They were built in the early 60s, late 70s, and so they're a lot of the codes with the access and the roads and things like that are it's a lot different than they are now. So it's important that you pre-plan that. The incoming crews, the first in engine company is on top of that and directing crews to come in from different locations so that everybody's not piled up inside there and screws up the access for other units. Water supply is another big issue. Because these are older properties, some of them don't have any hydrants at all. So that's something that we need to know. Hey, do we need to lay in from the main street outside? Are there some properties that butt up against the park that maybe on the other side of those walls that have hydrants? Also, because the properties are older, a lot of them are not well maintained. If they have hydrants that are private hydrants, they're a lot of times not maintained and out of service. So that creates a huge problem for us that we find. Also, some of the older parks have what's called a Jones valve, which is only a 2.5-inch line coming up out of the ground, which doesn't give us nearly enough water to get ahead of a quick moving, wind-driven mobile home fire that's moving into the exposures. So those are some of the main things, the main issues, and why we need to do pre-plans on our mobile home parks. Yeah, the construction of mobile homes. So mobile homes are they're built with a metal frame, and then they're using like a 2x2 wall that's furred off inside. And then, but the big problem with the construction of mobile homes is the interior walls. The interior walls on the older mobile homes are all combustible. They're not made of they don't use drywall. And some of the newer modular homes, they do use drywall inside, but the older ones are all paneling or wood or some type of combustible for the walls, which creates a big problem for us with rapid fire spread. So the biggest void space in a mobile home is obviously the space below the floor and the ground. Several times that floor will get burned out, so it's very important that we sound those floors. We get fires underneath the mobile home, which can create big problems for us. The attic space in the mobile homes is pretty insignificant. It's nothing that we can on the roof. It's nothing we can get up there to ventilate on, and it typically burns away quite quickly during a fire. Some of the utility issues that we encounter on mobile homes. So most mobile homes here in the valley, most of them have electrical and they have gas. They're located usually right on the delta side most of the time, right there together. Some of the problems we have, because they're lower income, and not well maintained, we have a lot of people stealing power. So we have a lot of where we think we've killed the power to the mobile home, and lo and behold, there's still power being serviced to it from the one next door through extension cords or whatnot. Okay, we're going to talk about how our unit should stage in a mobile home fire. Of course, this is going to all depend on the situation. Is it windy? Is it a still day? Is it a fully involved mobile home? Is it a single room? So talking about our units coming in, that first in unit is critical to making sure that they leave enough space for that truck company to come in and then start directing units to come in from other directions so that we don't get jammed up. A lot of the staging of the units relies on that first in unit showing up, taking a look at what the problem is, and based on the situation, whether it's windy, whether it's what's going on, they're going to start making those decisions to stage units where he needs them to be ahead of that fire if it gets into those. So it's a truck placement is important in every fire. And that includes a mobile home fire. We're not going to the roof to ventilate, but they have a lot of special skills, a lot of special tools that they can utilize to help out dealing with this situation. Some of the things so as the truck arrives, I prefer the truck to be right up front, so they can quickly get off. They can do window cut downs if need be. They can help ventilate because we need to have an aggressive fire attack. And when they ventilate, it needs to be coordinated with that fire attack, especially in a mobile home. So it's very important that truck placement is correct. It's up front. It's in an area where they can have quick access to the mobile home. Some of the things I expect from my first in officer, as he's arriving, I expect him to give a good solid BIR, paint a good picture for everybody coming in, and then I expect him, based on what he has, to start directing crews before they arrive, if need be. I expect when I get there that he's not sitting in the cab in a mobile home. A mobile home needs a quick, aggressive fire attack, that he's off and he's ready to go. Command is mobile. He is, they're starting to knock the fire down upon my arrival. If he's made assignments, he's made the correct assignments to assist with the extinguishment of the fire or to deal with the exposures. So when I arrive, I can just take it over. In a mobile home, a 360 is, in every building should be done. There's a lot of things that obviously we can't see on that Charlie side. But let's talk specifically about mobile homes. Mobile homes, they burn hot, they burn quick. And if we don't get a 360, those exposures that are always an issue in a mobile home park because they're so close, and we don't see that exposure on the Charlie side, that's something we can't deal with. So a 360 also is going to help indicate where that fire room is. We've all been to those mobile homes where the fire's not showing itself. It's just ugly black smoke out of every window. We get a good 360, we can get an idea of where that fire is. In that way, command can assign the truck to ventilate that window, coordinating it with fire attack as they make entry and start going in. They can take that back window and they can push that stuff out the back. So let's talk about different types of attack: transitional, defensive, and offensive attack on a mobile home. A mobile home will quickly go from an offensive to a defensive if we're not aggressive and quick on our fire attack. That's why it's important for that first in engine company to be pulling lines and knocking that fire down initially. So offensive, if you're showing up, it's a regular day, still day, there's no wind. You show up, there's a room and contents fire. It's blowing fire out of one window all day long. That's an offensive. Let's maybe hit it from outside, maybe transition, maybe hit it from outside, knock it down real quick, go through the front door on an offensive attack and knock it down. Now you take a day where we have 30, 40 mile an hour winds. Okay, this is what I'm listening to my first arriving unit. I'm expecting to hear him say that, hey, I'm expecting it's going to be defensive. I'm just expecting, because of the wind and the amount of fire, and I'm expecting to hear him start talking about exposures either on the Bravo or the Delta side. Typically, what I've seen when I've arrived first and the units show up, and there is fire showing from a window, typically our engine companies are coming in, they're doing a transitional attack. They're quickly pulling a line, they're hitting it from outside, knocking it down, and then going inside and putting it out. And that seems to work the best. So ventilation options, it's pretty limited with a mobile home because we're not going to the roof. So it's going to be a horizontal ventilation. However, it really needs to be coordinated, right? I mean, you have a small box with a tremendous amount of fire load, super hot, moving fast. The minute you open that door, it creates that flow path right to that door. So if we can coordinate taking a window in the fire room as fire attack is entering, and we can push everything back out, that's what we're looking for, ideally, as far as ventilation goes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about searching a mobile home. First off, for a search to even be viable, we need a quick, aggressive fire attack. So a quick, aggressive fire attack is needed because of the size of the box. It's small, it's hot. The fire moves quickly through that mobile home. And there's not going to be any viable patients if we don't get that quick initial fire attack. I typically let fire attack get in, do their job, and I will assign a search. Some of the things we run into when we're searching, a lot of these mobile homes are completely cluttered hoarder areas. The hallways are smaller. It's very difficult to move around, and very difficult to get a heavier person down those hallways with just 2 firefighters. So we run into those issues. But those are, again, to have a successful search of a mobile home, we need a quick, aggressive fire attack. So in a mobile home, everything's in pretty close proximity. Even with a day without wind, with a fully involved mobile home, you're going to get some scorching and some extension into the Bravo and the Delta side, and possibly Charlie if they're close enough. So with and you add wind to that problem, and now we have a big problem. We need to really get ahead of it because it's definitely 100%. If we have a 30-mile-an-hour wind, the exposure will be going when we arrive. Another problem we have is the mobile homes alone are so close, but then people they'll build sheds, they'll build patios, they'll build things that bring their mobile home even closer to the exposure. So those create a big problem for us once those get going and get into the exposure. So we really need to get ahead of that. We had a fire with Henderson. It was a large. We came in on a second alarm. It was in a mobile home park. We had 30-mile-an-hour winds coming out of the west, and it ended up burning down 10 mobile homes. The problem we had was water supply. The water supply was all the way at the street. The mobile home was all the way in the middle of the park. This was something that created a problem for the first arriving units. When they arrived, they came in. They didn't bring a water supply in. They tried to handle it, and it just got away from them. It blew right behind, just right past them. So it's important. What we learned in that fire is it's important that we need to pay attention to the weather, and we need to get ahead of especially in mobile home parks, we need to get ahead of the fire. If we know that there's a 30-mile-an-hour wind and we can see that it's burning, then we probably should be bringing a water supply in with us, and making an assignment. Maybe that first assignment that you make isn't right there with you, but is maybe over to the wherever that wind is blowing into those exposures.